Hello everyone and welcome back to our module tour series with the Autodesk Construction Cloud. My name is Alan from Digital Drafting Systems and today we're going to be going ahead and checking out the document management section. Arguably one of the more important sections here. The Docs section is necessary or required rather for any project basically in the Construction Cloud. Uh, Think about it as your file storage, your building block, and kind of basic piece for all the other modules to work on top of. Um, think about it almost like a Google Drive, Dropbox, that kind of thing at a basic level. But the functionality that you get from the other modules will be a lot more geared towards these sorts of industries that we're in here. So as you can see here, we have a long list of items here on the left side, which we're going to review. But let's go ahead and start like we're seeing here with files. So the files area is all going to be listed here under project files. And so it's important to know that, these project files can be almost anything. There's 100+ file types that the system will accept. Some of the only file types that I've seen issues with in the past are like batch type files or script files that may cause something to run on the platform. That's something that for security reasons has been disabled as far as I understand. So unfortunately, those you cannot store up here, at least not in their native format, let's say. But the platform will accept many, many, many different types of file formats. So once we get here, you can see here that we have a couple of different folders for different disciplines and a shared folder here. And this is actually all set up through Teams, which we're going to talk about in the next video in the design collaboration section, but that's all created automatically. But just so you're aware, if you ever do want to come in here and make some changes, any folder that you go ahead and click on the three dots next to, you can go ahead and click add subfolder, and you can call it struct sub 1, right? Structural subfolder. And any folder, again, you can add another subfolder, you can rename, share, move, delete, sort, uh, upload files, for example, download source files for either specific files or for folders with their contained files. Exporting file logs will give you all of the files kind of in a list format. And some of these other items here we're not going to discuss at the moment. But one important one we are going to look at here is the permission settings. So as you can see here with myself and with this DDS user as project admins, we will have visibility to this folder. But Jaime, who we added in a previous video, does not yet. And so if we wanted to give him access, we could go ahead and click add here. And as I mentioned before, you can add people by name, by email, by role, or by company. So that's individual or within a group that they're a part of. And so typically, if you're giving access, let's say, to everybody who's going to be joining the project from a certain company, you can do that here by saying, DDS CAD, and you can say company DDS CAD. Everybody who joins, give them X level of access, right? And so you would click add and they would show up here on this list. Now we're not going to do that in this case because like I mentioned, this is all being controlled automatically now by the design collaboration section because of the way that I set up these teams. So we'll come back to that a little bit later, but that is where you would find that information. As far as uploading files goes, and let's go ahead and just delete this here. As far as uploading files goes, in any of these folders that you go to, you can click upload file and it'll actually go ahead and upload from your, you'll get a little dialog box of your file explorer. Or if you just drag and drop a file in here, it will automatically upload. It may take a little time to process, but it should ultimately process fairly quickly. Okay, so let's next jump into viewing here this file. So this is a file that I uploaded in another video that I did for project creation and setup that you'll be able to find on our YouTube channel. And so that file was uploaded as a Revit Cloud Workshare model. And so you can see that actually with this little icon. Hopefully you guys can see that. It's a little cloud with some people next to it. And if you hover over it, it'll tell you it's a Revit Cloud model. So you have the name of the file here. You can edit that by clicking on this pencil. Version control here, very, very important, very nice tool. If we click on that version number, you'll see here there's various versions listed here, V2, V3, V4. And what's important to note is that those are published versions of that working model. So as you guys are working in Revit, making synchronizations to the central model and whatnot, this version will not move up. Basically, it's going to stay where it's at. It's going to stay stagnant on this end, but on Revit, you'll still see that version history. And then when you go ahead and publish from Revit, and that creates the copy here on the Construction Cloud web portal, that's when you'll see these versions uprev. If you did need to go back to a previous version, if you click on these three dots, you can go ahead and copy, you can download the previous version, or you can make it the current version, which will supersede this version. Now what's nice is that will happen. So if we do this right here, you'll see that it's going to actually supersede it as its same version. And the next time we upload or we publish a new version, it'll go to version 5. So you'll never lose that history there, which is pretty nice. Okay. Some additional information here. Right now, we see we have no markups published, and um, I want to point that out because we're going to publish some markups in a moment here, and that's going to change. And so we have our size, we have our last update, and who it was updated by. Okay. So let's go ahead and open this file now. And one really nice feature about the Construction Cloud is that we have this built-in viewer. So for many, many different file types, I'm not going to say all file types, but RBT files, DWG files, PDFs, photos, variety of files, you'll have this viewer built in. And this viewer is really, really nice because, essentially you're working here with live data. So for example, if I click on this window here and I open my properties pane down here, you can see that there's actual live data from Revit that gets brought over here. And so that can be really nice for analysis purposes and things of that nature. A couple other things that we have access to here, you have a full screen button if you need that. The section analysis can be really useful. So you can choose your plane here and you can basically use this little arrow and you can section, basically very easily for demonstration purposes or whatnot. It can be really, really nice and helpful. So again, really nice tool to have here visually for presentations and things of that nature to easily be able to navigate. Now, again, since this is all live data, like we mentioned, if we zoom a little bit in here, let's try to turn here a little. So if we take this measure tool and we choose distance here, we can actually go ahead and use some of these live points to do some measuring. So that's very interesting. And we can actually grab angles on these as well. So let's try on this window here. Yeah, well, not very useful, but you can see here the dimension on that, or the angle on that as well. So you can calibrate variety of tools like that, but it is a very nice thing to have there, just in case you need it, and again for demonstration or when you're looking through. The next thing I'll show you here is our first person view. So let's see if this wants to work for us today. All right, so what we can do is with this view, we can actually walk around the live model. Unfortunately, yeah, not always perfect. You have to move around sometimes. You can come up, you can go down, but a nice way to navigate the model. Obviously, you can walk through some walls here, but you can see even walking down the stairs and everything, it's a really, really nice tool to have if you ever want to, for presentation reasons or whatnot. All right, let's turn off first person mode here, zoom back out. All right, and so another thing I want to touch on here on the left side, very top here, you have your sheets and views. And so if we go ahead and open that, you'll see we have this 3D view showing here. On the 2D sheets, do we have any? We don't have any right now. Give me just one moment here and I will go ahead and add a 2D view. Just hold for me. Okay, sorry about that. So what happens here, and the reason that we're not seeing any 2D views here, is because that's actually all triggered by the publish settings within Revit. So you actually have to enable the sheets that you want visible here in the Construction Cloud. Not to say that they're not in the file itself that's being uploaded and published over, but in order to see them here in the viewer, you need to make sure that those are enabled. So I did go ahead and open the same file here, the new version. This one, for some reason now is showing the structural, which was already in there, but I guess was not showing just yet. And so if we go back over here and we open up our sheets and views, so our 3D is the same 3D, but if we go to sheets here, we can see a variety of different sheets. So let's just go to our level 1 floor plan here, basic floor plan. And so what I wanted to show you here is that we have a couple of tools, markup tools here on the right hand side. So we can draw either with a highlighter or a pencil. So if we wanted to circle something, for example, that's an option there. We also have some shapes we can use as well as callouts. So if we wanted to, put this here and have a call out here pointing to, whatever we want it to point to essentially. Yeah, we can say fix this, something like that. It's a nice tool to have here. Additionally, you can do your revision clouds wherever you need them to be. And one thing worth pointing out is that these markups, you can see here on the very top, right now they're showing as published. If we click on that, it'll say unpublished. That means that it's not showing for everybody else. So when it's published, anybody who has visibility to this sheet in the Construction Cloud will have visibility to the markups. If they're unpublished, only you have visibility to those markups. So you can use it for your own review or for a review that you're going to be sharing with others as well. But please keep in mind that that's just for the viewer in the Construction Cloud. This is not going to go back to Revit or anything like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and make that published again. And so that's pretty much what I want to show here on the markup tools. But I do want to also mention what's called issues. And so issues can be put on a 2D sheet or on a 3D view. So let's go back to this 3D view and let's go over to, let's say this wall right here. So let's go ahead and click issue. We'll say building code, and we're going to click right here and drop that pin. So let's call this building code wall issue. And so these issues can be assigned to individual users or to a group of any sort. So either by role, by company, whatever the case may be. So let's go ahead and assign it to Digital Drafting as a company. And so you can have as many pieces of information in here as are necessary, as well as references, and you have a notes section in here as well. So, somebody can be doing a review, they can say, hey, this looks wrong to me, and task somebody with going back and fixing it. And what's nice is that this will actually show this to you here. And if you click through the issue, basically from that home page, the inside page that we looked at a little while ago, it will actually kind of land you right in the same view that you were in when you placed this pin. So it'll be really easy for them to see what you were talking about. Beyond that, in Revit, there's a built-in or a plugin that you can install from Autodesk. It's the Issues add-in. And essentially that will allow you to view these issues in Revit so you can fix them and address them right there on the spot. So that's a really nice tool that we see a lot of customers really enjoying. All right. What else? Last thing I wanted to show you in here is the ability to compare drawings, versions of drawings rather. So let's jump over here. You see here we have 8 solar panels. So there used to be 12. I took away a row of 4 here in a previous version. So let's go ahead and click compare. And so we'll compare this version 6 with, let's go with version 3 because I know maybe it's version 2. Yeah, there you go, version 2. And so we'll go ahead and compare. This will take a second to process. And so pretty quickly here, you'll be able to see what's been added, what's been removed, and what's been modified. So added is because the structural model is now here, which wasn't here before. But what I'm really focused on looking at here is what's been removed and what's been modified. So you can actually scroll down this list and you can choose these to see them specifically visible, which is pretty cool, and highlighted. Same thing with the modified as well. And you can click them on and off here. You can also filter by various disciplines. So nice little tool just if you need to quickly see, what's changed from one version to another. So really nice tool to have access to. If we come back here, you can actually see, going back to what we were talking about earlier, this is on version 6 now because I had to make a few changes to get those sheets to show. But you can see it retains this version 3, and instead of going back to version 4, it jumps to 5 and then 6. So it really retains that history quite well. Okay, one or two last things I want to show you here. So I'm going to go ahead and enable something. If we go to the settings up here and we go to advanced settings, I want to go ahead and turn on this top option here. So what this is going to do is this is going to enable us to share links to files and folders. So let's go back here to files, and if we go to the architectural folder and we click on our three dots here and we say share now, so we can actually share with anyone with a link. And so basically, so this is grayed out to current version at time of recipient opens. So what that's basically saying is that if the recipient opens this folder today when they receive it, they're going to see whatever's in it today. But if the recipient then goes back and looks in the folder with this link next week and the contents of that folder have changed, they will see the new contents of that folder. So that's a really nice way for them to keep up with changes. Now you can also set expiration dates here in that settings area we were just in. You can set a default number of days for expiration date, but otherwise you can actually edit that right here. Then at the end, you can actually email this directly from here with this form, or you can copy this link into an email to send it to someone. I want to show you also how that works for a specific file because it is just slightly different. So we'll do the same thing, share. So here you can actually also choose alternatively to only show this version of the published model when they open this link. So if you didn't want somebody to continue to see publishing changes that occur, you can just select this option and they will only see the version at the time of sharing. All right. Now, one last thing I do want to touch on here. We have this option for another project. Now, this is really interesting. This is what that bridge tool is that we'll talk about it over here, but this is where you actually would set that up. So if you're working on a file in your project and somebody else has another project that's related and they need visibility to your file and you want them to have that up-to-date access, you can do that here. You can set a title for this connection, this bridge connection, and then you can set a target project. So, you know, I can choose another project here, whether in my hub or somebody else's, and you can create that link. So that's a really, really nice feature to have. We can actually choose a target folder for this information. So let's say we just want to stick it in our Team B folder here. And so if we say share, when we get to that bridge section, we'll actually see that connection there. All right. These other items, specifications, reviews, transmittals, I'm not going to focus on too much today. Again, because I'm really focusing more on the design collaboration part of things, and those don't really have much of a place in that workflow in terms of the licensing as well. So we're going to go to issues, and I just want to point out the issues that we talked about earlier. So this is the one we just created, the building code wall issue. And if we actually click on the placement of this, it should take us directly into that model. And specifically, it should take us right here where we drop the pin. And so we've seen this. Let's say we want to leave a comment. Okay, we'll need to fix this. And we can submit it. And that will keep a history here. So that's pretty cool. That's definitely something that we see a lot of people using quite often. Report, same issue as these up here. We're not really going to discuss it too much. Members is going to be pretty much your members list from the other view. Bridge now should show the bridged projects that we have. So let's see here. So outgoing, we're bridging from our project out, and that's where you're seeing this connection to my other project. Incoming, we don't have any set up right now, so we're not going to see any. And bridged projects, again, we're not going to see any right now because we don't have any full bridges connecting two projects. We just have a copied over folder, basically. Last thing, which is really, really nice here, under project settings, this is the same stuff we saw in the project admin. But one very important feature is keeping in mind Revit being what it is. Revit allows you, or rather doesn't allow you to move backwards in terms of file versions, right? But let's say you were in a Revit 22 project and you opened it in Revit 24, it would upgrade that model. that model can always be upgraded to the next version, let's say to a Revit 25, but you can never go back to a previous, like a version 23 or 22. So that's fine, right? That makes sense. But in the Construction Cloud, when you have Revit set up in a certain, or when you have a certain version of Revit that you've uploaded your first file with, that's going to set the version of the project of Revit. And when you do that, um, if you open, let's say, a Revit 23, but you had that project in 22, you're not even going to see that project. Now, what happens if you want to go ahead and upgrade the entire project, though, to a new version of Revit? So that's what you would come do here. So you would go to Settings and then Revit Cloud Model Upgrade. And if there was a newer version of Revit available, it would give you the ability to choose that version and upgrade the entirety of the project. That means um, all of the projects, all of the Revit files, everything would be upgraded together, which really, really is a huge time saver. So right now I'm already, this version is on, or this project is on Revit 25, so we're already up to date, so we can't go any newer. But if we were on a previous version, it would give us the option to go to 23, 24, 25, as long as you're moving forward. So again, really nice tool and very helpful at times. Okay, so that concludes the doc section of the tour. Um, so we're going to go ahead and end the video now. Thank you all for being here today. And please join us for our next video, which will cover the design collaboration module. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.